Before we start this episode, like it is not done this, I'd like to wish John Mezza a happy 60th birthday for the 27th of July. Love you, mate.
Hello,
Hello.
and welcome.
To our 50th episode of Planet Marzipan.
The Fish and Marillion podcast. I'm Mezza, and here's my mate,
Craig Houston.
Hello, and welcome to the 50th episode of Planet Marzipan. Where does the time go?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for staying with us if you have all this time, and if you've just joined us, where the hell have you been?
Those people who've left.
Yeah, can't hear us, can they? Yeah. Well, you'll know by now that I'm Mezza, and this is my good friend
Craig.
And we were, a few weeks ago, somebody said to us, I think it was Darren Newitt, said to us online, what are you doing for your 50th, guys? Something big, something big. And we're like, don't really know. But we have got something big for you, haven't we?
We have the legend that is God himself.
Stephen of Rothery, yes. Those of you that listened to our episode a few weeks back, which was Planet Marzipan on the road in Manchester, where we went to see the Steve Rothery Band for a couple of gigs. Jolly good weekend that was too.
It feels so long ago as well.
Well, it was now, yeah. We asked Steve if he would let us interview him, and he was kind enough on the Saturday lunchtime to meet us in the Travelodge foyer and chat to us. I have to make an apology to the rest of Marillion, because in this interview I state that Steve Rothery is the sound of Marillion. I do believe that, but that doesn't mean that the other four haven't contributed.
You're going to get in a kicking circle, aren't you?
I probably am, yeah. I've blown our chances of ever getting Mark Kelly out of Peter Harbison, but no, but we had a really nice chat with Steve about lots of his projects, about the change in writing. Well, you'll hear it all in a minute, won't you?
Yeah. So get your listening ears on and enjoy When We Met God.
Well, look, Steve, thank you for talking to us today.
All right.
And thanks. I'm sorry to drag you out of your room. And
it's okay. It's a busy morning today. But my daughter's about to fly to Singapore for a work thing, and just heard this morning my son's been offered a place to do a master's in computer gaming at Manchester University.
Oh, great!
So it's a bit of a busy morning already.
Yeah. Pretty momentous.
Yeah, I mean, Jennifer last night was absolutely fantastic.
She
was
she's had a lot of professional training for the last couple of years, and I think it's given her a lot more confidence and control. So it's really good.
I think you were standing there like a proud dad.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's really, it's a wonderful thing.
And Band on the Wall has become a bit of a spiritual home for the band now, hasn't it?
It has. The only thing the two things that have been a little bit difficult with this particular booking is for a start, we couldn't even get in till about 4:30 yesterday. Normally we get in at 2:30, but they had another event booked.
It was a corporate thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The remains of the people were there, yeah.
There's something going on today as well, where we can't start at 4, but that's a bit of a pain. And also, we were told originally we had to finish by 10. Then that was moved to 10:30, and then at the last minute, suddenly said, we can play till 11, but by that time, I'd committed to the 10:30 finish. Which I think is probably a more civilized time anyway, as we all get older. But the other thing is the price of accommodation down
Oh yeah, there's the minute. Yeah.
We practiced nearly 200 quid a night for a travel lodge. I mean, come on.
It's because, I mean, it's the same last year. It's because there's big gigs in Manchester this weekend. You know, Gallagher's on at the Co-op tonight. James last night.
Yeah.
And then last year when you were here, Roger Waters was at the arena, and there was a festival further out in Manchester.
But I think it means that if I do this again, I'd have to put the ticket price up to cover the costs, really.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just too painful.
Well, we could always go back to Pontins, you know.
So 45 years, where did it go? Like you said on stage last night.
I tell you, it's so bizarre, really. I remember all the different stages of the career, and if they'd told me at 19 years old that somebody doing this 45 years later, I would have never believed it. You know, and to be doing it at this level as well, I think that's what's so unusual about Marillion as a band, is that we haven't sort of the dip after EMI, but in terms of our place in the, whatever you want to call it, the progressive rock universe or whatever, you know, we're very much established now, and we have that luxury of being able to take our time to make the record we want to take without a label anyone down our necks, you know. And the way that the music industry itself has kind of imploded over the last 10 or 15 years with streaming and that whole thing about so difficult for young musicians to make a living. But we're so established that we have all these different sort of paths that really we can take. So yeah.
I mean, there've been a lot of business decisions which have worked out for the best.
Yeah.
Being ahead of the curve.
Well, ahead of the curve, but just by sort of trying new things all the time. We interviewed Lucy about the period when she first started working with you the other week for Anorak. The amount of different ideas that you were coming up with at the time. You'd obviously got the crowdfunding, but
well, we saw the importance after the US tour of having that sort of communication with our audience. And originally there was a plan for a mailback card, I think, on Radiation. I got the label to agree to, but for whatever reason, the manager didn't really push that through. But then obviously with .com, that was a great advert for the website. And
well, there was the mailing card with .com.
Yeah, but it was on the previous album. I got
you tried,
which was a battle in itself. But I think, John Allison didn't really understand the internet or its potential. And that was a point that we were told that we would have to get part-time jobs because Marillion wasn't really going to, cut it in terms of providing an income for all these people, which is at the time we sacked him.
Yeah, and then it was great. It was a red rag to the bull, wasn't it? It was something that just, you had faith in yourself.
We wanted to do a university tour. He said, no, that's not possible. So I booked it. And that was the first time we started booking our own gigs. And, that became the pattern, especially for the UK, up until the recent years when we, started working with an agency again to get those big gigs that you could only get through an agency. But we've charted our own path, really, and found a way of thriving, not only surviving as things changed around us, but because we're still all about the music. And we're still all about the music we're making now, not music we made all those years ago. So I think that sets us apart from a lot of those bands with this kind of length of a career. We're one of the very few that's still about what it is we're doing now.
Yeah, you're not a nostalgia act by any means, are you?
No.
I mean, there's so many bands now. I mean, it's like with the Pet Shop Boys who've just gone out on their Dream World greatest hits tour. And they've just had a number 2 album again, but they have to rely on It's a Sin and West End Girls and things like that because they're a pop band that they can't do a gig
because we're never a pop band. Yeah. So our audience is sort of more mature and more, expecting of something that's a bit more challenging, I think. So they've stayed with us because of that. There's very few bands are making interesting music these days. I don't think. I mean, there's some, but. There's not many in this field of music, I think, that are doing kind of good work.
Yeah, I think I'm not exactly looking forward to Dave Gilmour's new album because I haven't liked his last two.
Because the first track's not right.
As brilliant as he is in his career.
Yeah, he loves to be on an island, really, with the lyrics that he's I'm sure is very nice.
Yeah. Yes.
Recent hard sentiments, has to bucket it really. Roger Waters might be a megalomaniac, but he's a very talented one, and I think the combination of their talents creates something really unique and special. And neither one of them without the other is quite insane, really.
Yeah. But at least, you've just 2 years ago, the last album came out, and you're still on a career high with new material. It's every new album has got, at least, even if people don't love everything, it's got some magic.
I think the last album,
it's something to do with the guitarist, I think. I don't know.
No, we're lucky. We've got a great chemistry, and Mike Holt does an amazing job in collating all our ideas and helping arrange them into finished tracks. And we have our own studio, which not many bands have. So we can take our time, and even through the pandemic, carry on working. And I've got a studio at home as well. I mean, some of the solos on the last album I did in my garage. So like Care and Crow Nightingale. So
You did the Crow and the Nightingale solo in your garage.
in my garage.
In his pads.
That's the magic happens in your garage. Yeah, definitely.
It's a garage with more equipment than a lot of studios and music shops. So, but,
There's no space for a car or anything.
no, there's not going to space. It's been blocked off for the last, 15, 20 years. I mean, Mike, Dave Meegan mixed. My daughter's just Dave Meegan mixed some B-sides there, and I did the first Wish Injury album, all the overdubs there, and the second one actually. And various bits and pieces from Marillion albums over the years. So it's really handy to have that, and to understand how the technology works when you compiling performances to make the ultimate take, or just experimenting and trying different wacky things like sounds that can't be made. I did loads of really out there stuff that people have never heard, because ultimately when you come to mix something, you make the choices of which aspect you want to sort of incorporate into the track. But it's great to have. And during the lockdown period, I did about a dozen sessions for other people. Because one of the reasons that my own album sort of slowed down is because every time I do that, it probably takes about 3 or 4 days to do that, to kind of work out what I want to do on a track and record it. And I realized I was spending far too much time doing that. So I made a decision that I'm only going to do that if it's on a professional basis. For good friends, I would still do it, but not just for anyone that asked me, which is kind of how it turned into. So, I did a paid session the other day, which was, it's not something I'd want to do that often. It is still quite challenging, but at least I can justify the time taken if I get paid.
Yeah. Where are we on the time frame of Reverend Julie?
Well, 4 different albums I'm making at the moment.
Just 4, it's not much.
Well, and a 5th one in the pipe. That's just one in the pipeline. But
any advances on 6?
No, 6 I think is where we're up to. But the main one, obviously, the Marillion album takes priority, and we're sort of jamming on the initial ideas for that. I'm doing this album with Steve Hackett, which Ricardo and I have been working on in between these 2 weekends. And we've got a session with him at the end of July, and probably a week with Ricardo before that. So I'm really hoping to, in the space this year, to be able to finish that. It's just some really cool things on it. So that's kind of that. I've got this album.
Sorry, Steve, is that an instrumental album?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, that was another conversation I had with Steve, really, because I wanted to differentiate it from his solo work. And what I want is to bring out what I think's magical about what he does in that instrumental context, because I think that's there's a timelessness to that kind of thing, I think. So anyway, there's that. This album, Thoughts Questioning from Tangerine Dream, we were about 70% of the way through that. I'm planning to fly to Berlin again, probably sometime in November or early December, to finish the recording and mixing side of that. So that's the other one. And then Reverend Tulay is third in the queue, if you like. Those two have kind of jumped in place because there's only so much time and energy you've got, especially with the family and holidays and all the other.
Just life in general.
Yeah, life in general. But we will get back to that, and then I'll do another album with my band, and I've got another project that I'm too early to talk about yet. But yeah, so I keep busy, and of course, there's a volume 2 of Postcards from the Road to think about.
there is.
You know what free time we've got.
We must have a massive whiteboard in the house that I've had written on
Yeah,
to-do list.
yeah, no, it is. It's my wife Trace, I suppose. But I think it keeps you. I don't know if it keeps you sharp, but it keeps you motivated. Yeah, both with music and these other things. And these gigs are great. That's really so much fun. I mean, these 2 weekends especially, and then headlining a festival in the Netherlands at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something special.
Dude, we were chatting on the way home yesterday. You seem to smile a lot more on the stage with the Rothery Band.
Massive grins, massive grins.
Is that because you've got...
It's because it's a lot of this stuff. I mean, this stuff I'm playing is the stuff that I had probably the most to do with the writing of. So it's quite natural for me. There's not much of a sitting sound to speak of, and there's no pressure. Marillion is this entity and with a weight of expectations and a different chemistry, 5 different personalities and how they interact. So this is without any of that really. This is just about people who get on really well, getting together, playing great music and having a fantastic time, and the audience feel that.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, there's such energy.
Shows on stage, it bounces off.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Yeah, it is. It's quite unusual to have these great musicians who can interpret these great songs in such a way.
I mean, you're right. For Marillion, you kind of touched upon it there. It's changed massively. Your input into writing, hasn't it?
Well,
in the early days.
Because we got into this thing about writing by jamming, and also as different producers come in. I think Mike Hunter had a different approach to Dave Meakin in terms of the ideas that excited him. Maybe he was the first couple of albums, he was a little bit less excited by the guitar than he was the keys and the orchestration. And I kind of felt that at the time. It made me less than enthusiastic because I felt that some of my input was being ignored.
Right.
But that as he kind of worked through, I think he understood more and more the strengths of what we each brought to the band. I think by Sounds That Can't Be Made, we kind of got things more in balance in a way. But you have 5 people, lots of different ideas, and it becomes. Well, in the old days, I used to write something, and 90% of the time we play it. These days, it's a lot more by committee.
Yeah,
really.
So the outlet for that sort of writing, because you're still writing that way. So is that your solo stuff?
Yeah, it is. It's because, and even the writing with Marillion, we quite often we are still writing by jamming. But if you're in the zone, you have one great idea after another, and maybe at the end of a 2-hour jam session, you have maybe 5 or 6 really strong ideas that could evolve into songs. But you also have this situation where ultimately Steve has the power of veto, because if he doesn't sing an idea, it doesn't become a song.
Yeah.
It just becomes an interesting little musical snippet. And I think the interesting thing that Mike did with the last album is he incorporated those interesting little musical snippets into the songs. So it became less, in some ways, I think, less dependent on each thing immediately becoming part of a song. It kind of evolved into the songs more. Maybe. I don't know, that's just my perspective.
Yeah, but with the Care, for instance, the guitar riff, the brilliant guitar riff in it, it's been hanging on for a while, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, no, that I've always had that theory that sometimes it just our ideas, time hasn't come yet. You carry on playing it every few years when people have forgotten about it, and eventually you're like, oh, that's a really good idea.
Remember that bit from like 1873? That was like hundreds of years ago.
But that happened with the riff for Berlin as well. I originally came up with that back in sort of about 84.
I got that far.
Yeah, and played it people, and so then when we writed with Steve and actually before we writed with Steve, when it was the last writing session with Fish, I dug that out and it became something. So you never know with ideas.
But Berlin's iconic song, isn't it?
Yeah. You brought him up then, so obviously Fish he's about to do his farewell tour.
Yes.
What do you make of that?
It's funny. Robin rang me up the other day asking for some advice on equipment and say that it's a challenge for him. Play some of these songs where the keys changed so much.
Yeah,
I think he said 7 semitones, I think, on one thing. And again, my heart goes out to it because you can't play those. You can't play that music. You can play like a weird approximation of it, but it's never going to sound the same. And I think even now, Fish doesn't really understand that. And I understand, all singers' voices change over the years, depending on how you treat them. I'll get away with that.
Just that.
But sometimes it's been more about the party than the performance, I think, and that's caught up with it to a certain extent. But he's still an amazing front man. He's a very charismatic performer. He's written some amazing words. So in a way, it's sad to see him actually hanging up wherever you would be hanging up at this point in your career.
Your microphone.
Yeah.
I think he's having a bit of frustration at the minute because he's going through a bit of a resurgence in interest. Although there's possibly because he's announced that he's retiring, but his sales are starting to go up, and there's a lot of things that he's selling himself are starting to sell out and say, well, where were you a year ago?
Well, because he wasn't retired a year ago.
Yeah.
And people say, well, I want to see it one last time. Before.
Well, I think that's a lot of stuff cyclical, though, isn't it? Because very well with.
Yeah. And
some years bands do really, really well, just randomly, just something triggers and they have their moment.
Yeah. And I think people just want to say, I was at his last whatever tour, and I think that the promoters he's using have done a good job selling the whole concept of Fisher's farewell to the Isle tour or whatever. Road to the Isles, is it? I can't remember. Yeah. Which is another thing. But anyway, yeah. No, I hope it's a success for him. But I hope he can manage to get past 2 or 3 shows without blowing his voice.
Yeah. It's a pretty grueling schedule that they booked in, isn't it?
Yeah.
But more importantly, you're not allowed to retire yet.
Sorry?
You're not allowed to retire yet. We're just telling you.
Oh, God, no. I don't think I'll ever retire. You'll carry your stage before I stop. It's, when you're a musician and when you dedicate your life to writing, it's what you are. You want to be much good for anything else. The way I ask, like gardening or DIY, forget it. But,
as long as they can pop you up.
Well, the idea, if I earn enough money by doing it.
Do you think you'd be tempted to go and see Derek on the last tour? Is that something you can do?
That is important, really. Even if there's a sort of element of curiosity, I just think I'm not sure it would be a good idea.
No.
We're also right in the middle of rehearsals for the weekends.
Yeah.
Just, it's the week before, so.
Yeah, that's just thing, when we did that gig with him in the Market Square, that kind of came back and bit us on the arse, you could say.
Yes. We were there.
There was that.
It was.
It was
people read too much into it, and we had profile that we hadn't had in a long time, but I think not in a healthy way.
No. Some of the Nationals picked up on it.
Yeah.
No. It was great to be there.
Yeah,
it was a fairly loose version of Market Square here.
It was. I get it. I think he had sung in that key for about 20.
And you've got another deluxe coming out with TSE.
Yeah,
remix.
Yeah. Mike's done a great job with that.
Good for that.
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a very, very strong package.
Do you have a lot of involvement in selecting the stuff, or does it kind of come to you for?
We're yeah, we have the option if we're interested and we have the time, but generally it's just a case of this is what we want to put on it, and you can't listen to everything. The life's too short. You'd never do anything else.
Do you listen to stuff in surround? Is that a thing you listen to at home or not?
Not really. I mean, I only got a domestic surround system for the TV kind of thing, really. I thought about, I think if my studio's in a garage, it's not really, unless I'm going to spend 10 grand on acoustic treatment, it's not really worth going even 5.1, never mind Atmos. And I think the important thing is a creative process. If you then mix it in somewhere with surround sound, go to a proper surround sound studio. But no, I'm jealous of Steve Wilson's pipes, actually. I mean, he's got a great setup there.
But if the lottery numbers come up.
Yeah. But yeah.
I enjoy it. The folks who listen to our pod know, because whenever we review I'm not about around, but it's just a fantastic way of being right in the middle of your favourite music.
Yeah, well, I've had two of the tracks from Reverend Today that they mixed in surround in 5.1.
Yeah.
And it is very immersive. It's very exciting because so few people have a decent 5.1 system, never mind an Atmos. You'd have to be, generally speaking, a very wealthy person with a very big house with a room dedicated to that to really have the benefit.
Yeah, for the speakers in the ceiling and everything. That's all a bit.
Or as I think Stephen Wilson said recently, or a very understanding partner who would let you do that in the living room. But
yeah, I don't think many partners are that.
No, I would agree with you there.
And most of it seems to have been pushed more towards immersive audio with the Apple standard, which you can listen to on headphones. How much benefit you get, I don't know. But yeah. So I think the industry is always looking for new ways to sell you the same old product.
Yeah.
And I do get the feeling with Atmos, it's a little bit more of that. Well, ultimately, it's the people with own the studios that have to make this huge financial investment to keep up, really, to be considered by the labels for mixing or having a project that doesn't come out in Atmos is seen to be somehow less than a full release.
Yeah,
but that's nonsense, really. 5.1 I can understand. Atmos for me is really a step too far.
It's all right for a cinema, but in a house.
Yeah. If you're in your local multiplex and watching some blockbuster and explosions and whatever all around you, very immersive. But yeah.
And that's one thing you mentioned before about how difficult it is for young and upcoming artists.
Virtually.
But now, especially with the introduction of AI and music-wise, this is where the likes of Spotify and the streaming services can auto-generate music, and some of it's really, really clever and really, really intuitive now. So
it is. I mean, most people can tell the difference, but there's always going to be a percentage of people that can't, and those people will be quite happy to listen to that AI-generated music. So you can say that there's going to be even less money coming into the pockets of young musicians trying to make their way in the world. It will kill the industry up.
Yeah, and you were lucky to be part of a generation, especially in the 80s and stuff, to get your fan base when you did. And for the fan base to carry on, to mature, to be able to afford and to be wanting to buy physical products.
Exactly. It's all about, if you can still sell physical products, especially special editions, and if you've got a decent sized fan base, you can exist and even thrive still. But for anyone with fans under 30, they're just going to want to stream it.
Yeah.
Why would they? A lot of people, why own DVDs or Blu-rays when you can stream it from the streaming services? So it's the same for music. People just can't be bothered, really.
It's probably the last generation who are going to be as successful in the way that they are.
But then again, you have this flip side of that, where the resurgence of vinyl, where maybe it's something for the cool kids. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like we've lived through that whole thing of getting your record, perfectly brand new record that's somehow magically got to scratch it. It has all this noise because it's not being virgin vinyl they've used to press it. So we've been through all that. But I think maybe because it harkens back to what do you own when you're on a recording? You know, you don't own a stream, and even a normal size CD doesn't give you much way of the artwork and the impact. But,
No.
you know, you look at the Ghost of Pripyat on vinyl, and you see that photo. It's stunning.
Yeah.
And I think that'll always appeal to a certain level of collector or whatever music snob, maybe. You know, I only have listened to vinyl.
Yeah, I mean, when CDs first came in, the bonus tracks went on the CD to encourage us to buy CDs. McCartney's just put a Wings album out yesterday with a bonus 7-inch EP that isn't on the CD. So you're driven back to the vinyl at 45 quid a pop.
Crazy. He really is. But, you know, some musicians, I mean, he's at the other end of the ladder in terms of not struggling for a fiver. Or,
Yes.
But yeah, for young musicians these days started out, it just, in a way, most of them do it for the love, because you love to create, you know, play for an audience, no matter how small, to make music, bring something beautiful into the world that didn't exist before. And, you know, most musicians I know don't do it for financial reward or, you know, it's a certain sort of kind of musician that only does it for that. It's like a career, you know, or they do it to get laid or whatever, but that's not most musicians. It's because it's a calling. And even if it will never feed you, it's still something you have to do because it's in your blood, it's in your blood. Yeah. And I'm just lucky that I've managed to make a career out of it for the last 45 years.
But that's been in your blood since you were a teenager.
I had a dream when I was about 12 years old, before I even started playing the guitar. I had a dream of being on a stage, playing to an audience, and the feeling that you kind of got back from the audience. And that kind of stayed with me, really. Like I said, I haven't even started playing the guitar then.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. It's very, very weird sort of premonition, almost.
We interviewed Andrew Wiles and Greg Sporton recently about Andrew's book. I know he interviewed you for it.
Yeah.
But you jumped in your car from Whitby, went to Aylesbury on a whim, almost.
Well, pursuing a dream. Yeah. You know, I decided while I was still at school that I wanted to be a musician. And once you make I left school at 16 and played the guitar all day for about a year before I joined my first band. And that was it. That was the dream. Listening to Shiny You Crazy Diamond, that was the thing that kind of, this is what I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
Can there be anything better than this? No, I don't think so. And all my, I didn't have a fallback position. I think that's a lot of these other bands at the time, like 12th Night, they're all sort of graduates that kind of got their fallback positions sorted out very nicely, thank you. But for a lot of musicians, there wasn't. It was just do this because you have to do it. You don't, hopefully it will lead to something that you can sustain. But there's so many coincidences and so many things that had to come together for Marillion to exist in the first place. And then, Fish joining and that whole development of the band and certainly to EMI and then having a hit record and sustaining a career over this length of time. It's like winning the lottery 3 times.
Absolutely, yeah.
Really,
absolutely.
It's quite insane.
Why do you think, this is a really difficult question, I suppose, why do you think out of all of those bands that Marillion were the ones who kind of went to the next level?
I think we had something that, you see, it's very hard to answer this without blowing your own trumpet. But put it this way, when I listen to any of those bands, the IQs, the 12th Nights, the Palaces, I hear their influences. I can almost at times tell you which track it was lifted from. And people can point to us and say, Grandall, something's ready. That's one thing, But generally speaking, as a whole, the way our music developed, the Genesis comparison was very lazy journalism.
Yeah.
Because Fish wore face paint, which is, fair enough. But, his lyrical style, the power, I think, in our music
It had a real sort of punky edge. Back
there
in
was,
the,
there
in
was
the
something
82,
in it that
83,
those other bands didn't have.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's because maybe we weren't as obsessed with becoming a tribute to our heroes. We took their influences in and merged it with, like I said, not exactly punky, but that kind of energy.
But it was a live sort of an attack.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't polite.
No,
no. It wasn't, dragons and fairies, and then,
I don't think Fish has ever been polite. He's anti-establishment and he tells it like it is.
But yeah, so I think there was something different. And I think that's the reason we built the audience we built and then sustained it for the time that we did.
And also, every album is different, and every album is a reaction to the previous one. And as fans and big fans that we are, we've always looked forward to the next album. It's not yes, we've loved everything that's on, but what's new? What's new? What's new? Because we're excited by the new.
No, and I think when Steve Hogarth joined, we had another musician who was a great, keyboard player and a writer. So that kind of added a whole different element to what we did. And then by the time we'd settled down into creating as a 5-unit, I think with the Brave album, we showed that we could surpass, if you like, the stuff that we'd done in the past. Maybe darker, maybe more intense, more powerful. But yeah, I think there's been growth with every record. Occasionally you have things that you can't be excited about every track and every album, but I think we have a very high percentage of music that's worked over the course of our career, which is probably more than I can said for a lot of artists. Most artists have a golden period that maybe lasts 2 to 3 albums, and then they kind of maybe they made so much money they lose interest, or they just burnt themselves out creatively.
It's like a 3 albums note kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
But I think we're very unusual is that the creative spark still burns as brightly with us as it ever did. I'd like to think I'm part of that, but I'm not the only reason. I think it's the way that the 5 of us play together. Yeah, and I've always said it's the closest thing there is to real magic in the world. To see one person gets the ghost of an idea and somebody joins in, and it's almost like it coalesces and takes form, and out of nothing you have this really beautiful piece of music that didn't exist 5 minutes ago, and that is magic. Really.
And some bits of that might have come from years and years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that mystifies me. It's the whole process of how it all comes together.
See, the way I approach guitar playing, I'm not a technical player, but I think I'm quite a melodic player, and I think I'm good at finding the melodies within each chord and each movement. There's things you can do to make it interesting in a way that not many people are bothered about with playing. So that's always been my priorities, to try and unlock. Pardon me. Unlock these little melodies and riffs. And sometimes it's down to phrasing things in a less than obvious way. I've always tried to avoid kind of cliche, and just try to come up with something fresh and interesting.
But it's emotion in it.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Is it? If you're playing something like the Great Escape, and you're doing the Falling from the Moon bit.
Yeah.
If you're looking down at the audience, how many times do you see it where that people aren't crying?
Oh yeah, no, it's
so
amazing.
It's my favourite song. I could put the balls up for that.
Yeah,
for years, ever since it came out.
It's one of my favourites actually. But the second solo in Care, and you see resonating. But we've always had that. I mean, I remember a South American tour. Or was it Mexico? And there's all these guys, these sort of 40, 50-year-old guys with tears streaming down their faces. The music is reaching so deeply inside them and resonating so deeply. And maybe not all these people speak perfect English, but there's something in the music that is touching their soul.
Exactly.
And that is, to be partly responsible for that, it's apart from being at times a crushing responsibility, it's also incredibly uplifting.
Yeah.
Well, again, another time in Mexico, this three people came up to me, the guy, his elderly father and his son, and they came up to me, held my hand and said, "I've got to tell you, my family lives for your music." And I've heard similar things since from people, and it's a responsibility. You don't want to make a bad record.
We all get it from the other side.
Yeah.
I mean, you make grown men cry in a good way.
Yeah. I think
that's more prevalent in the H era than it is in the earlier Fish era.
Yeah, I think.
No, it's not. It's the same. No, I think it's the same. I think it's been the same, constant throughout for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the band, but this man is the sound of Marillion.
Yeah, if you go back to was it a pilot or something way back, like whatever episodes ago, we had a conversation, and not to blow your trumpet, but you did say that the guitar.
Steve is the sound of Marillion for me. I've been here since '82. This man is the leader.
My wife says that, but then she's married to me.
Yeah, I don't have to say that, but yeah.
Yeah, we don't.
I mean, everybody plays the part, but it's Steve plays
common thread.
Yeah,
I think, and the way I approach playing the guitar, melody and atmosphere and emotion has always been the thing that I've loved about it. Compared to all other instruments and all the other ways of playing the guitar. If you can, you can go all these shredders, the amazing technique these young kids have, but no one's going to have a tear in the eye.
No,
listening to that, no one's going to. It's not going to resonate with them in the same way. Come to an Olympic sport, and great, and yes, some of those players are fantastic. Your hats off to them, but it doesn't stay with you. You won't go away whistling that tune.
No,
No.
I mean,
very special.
How many times have we seen the Easter solo now?
Oh,
and I still stood watching you last night, and you're just absolutely mesmerised by it.
Yeah, well, I do put every ounce of my being into every single night I play. I think that's different to a lot of people, where it's like muscle memory. Yeah, I'm in this key, I can play these blues licks. And at any particular moment around the world, there will probably be a million guitarists playing exactly the same phrases, and I've always turned my back on the well, what can I do that, it's like plays in the gaps almost. It's like you play the silences as much as the notes, and the way that you phrase it's the thing that makes it special. And vibrato and bending are very important, I think, in making the guitar such an emotional instrument.
And we were in the front last night, and you can, when you're that close, you can really see those strings bending. I'm going,
Yeah, there's just one bend actually in the Great Escape. There's a bend I do where it's the Strat, so it's one less fret than a lot of guitars. So I have to bend for a tone and a half, then add finger vibrato, then add the bar to get the intensity in that particular note. And so many times the string would go, I'm out for a few years until they got the
I know with seeing you like hundreds plus times, it seems to be every time you do the Easter solo, you've got this massive grin on your face.
But it's because it's something that's so natural for me, I think, and it's so satisfying to play something is resonating with people, but at the same time, you can feel like you're doing something, that just works, really.
And so the Blue Pain solo, for example, you get applause in the middle of a song.
Oh, I know, that's amazing. That's at that convention where they just wouldn't shut up. Yeah, it's funny.
It's great when you get the love and the love, isn't it?
It's gratifying. I try not to let it go to my head though, because I think that would be bad. You kind of take it at a certain level, think, oh, that's really lovely, and I'm really glad it means so much to people. But I did the pedal show a few weeks ago, and on that I play the TSE solo against a live version backing track that Mike Hunter did for me. And it's just that sound, really. That sound, how I approach it. In a way, a very, very simple part, but I've never heard anyone take that approach. It's really weird. I don't know. I seem to crawl down this different sort of alleyway of how to express things on the guitar to most people.
I think if anybody else did it, they'd be accused of copying you now.
Maybe
It's your sound.
Yeah, maybe, but it's like I say, it's the spaces and it's the phrasing, and that's just not doing the obvious thing, but finding something that has a shape and a form and an emotional intensity. So anyway, that should be out in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully, and I did the Crow Nightingale song as well.
Amazing. My favourite. My favourite of the new album.
Oh, anytime he plays that now, just look at him. He's like,
Can we just ask you about the conventions and Lorelei?
Yeah.
So you're doing the final Lorelei.
Yes, yeah, the penultimate band and the final Lorelei. It's gonna be interesting. We've got a great set now. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. It's gonna be quite emotional, I think.
Holds a lot of memories.
Yes, yeah. And then the conventions that year, it's gonna be fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's always a challenge holding so much music in your head. And Port Zealand, I think that's gonna be the really emotional one. The last ever time with Port Zealand, it's just always meant so much to us, not only to us but to my family. You know, my kids love it there. It's like they say, if they have to choose one occasion above birthdays, above Christmas, it's actually going to Port Zealand. So that tells you all you need to know about what it means to them.
Yeah. And the work on the set list must have begun for that.
Yes, yeah, but that might change. That's the thing. We've had suggestions, and when we're all together next, we will discuss it in depth. And it usually evolves a little bit once we get into rehearsals, and you kind of get a shape of how you want it to go. But yeah, it's going to be fun, definitely.
Well, we're looking forward to it, as I'm sure all our listeners are.
Yeah.
and we're really looking forward to tonight as well. Night two.
Yeah.
No, it's a great set tonight as well. Really good.
Well, look, Steve, thank you very much for your time.
It's so
It's been great to speak to you. I get a photo.
Yeah, sure.
You've been for 45 years.
Yeah.
So I thought
Thank you very much.
I would love to have you on the pod again at some point.
I'd say here's to the next 45. I think that might be a little optimistic.
You never know.
Well, at least the next 10 or so.
Yeah. No, I'd like to think we've got at least another 10 or 12 years.
You could go the album route and do a
Avatar.
Yeah, either that or you trade up your replacements and you just substitute it one by one.
But thanks to you.
Well, that was good, wasn't it, listeners?
Epic.
Yeah. Great to hear from the man himself. Thank you so much, Steve, for talking to us, and for the photo that we got with you, and for the weekend gigs, because it was a cracking weekend. But I hope you've enjoyed that, listeners. We certainly enjoyed talking to him. And thanks to Mark Owens, who was with us as well, interjecting with an odd question or two as well.
Yeah. So at which point now do we say, do we put a Mark Kennedy up and go, Rothers was your support act?
Well, maybe.
Because our next interview is with our great friend, Mr. Mark Marillion Kennedy.
Yes, we've kept that one back for obvious reasons.
Well, you've got to hold back the big interviews. You'll help back others.
Yeah. Rothers is his support band, yeah. But no, look, thank you for listening to the podcast this week, and for the others that you've listened to. Have you got any favourites for the ones we've done, Craig? Apart from this one, obviously.
Oh, there's loads that there hasn't been any that I've not really enjoyed in one way or the other. Apart from the forthcoming transatlantic car crash.
Couldn't shut him up, listeners. He's an absolute proghead. Don't buy any of this. I don't like prog stuff.
Yeah, this is the episode where Craigipedia fails.
Yeah,
big style.
Yeah, not in your wheelhouse. That is it at all.
It's not, I don't even think I was even on the same ship.
No.
But no, I've enjoyed all of our interview episodes, and I think we've had some fantastic guests on. And long may it continue. That I can't single too many people out because one, I don't want to get a kicking.
Yeah.
The two I've loved them all.
Well, it's been great. It's been great getting friends on as well to help review gigs and albums and stuff. And we've quite a few people that we bumped into in Manchester. We've asked to come on the pod, so we've got a long list of people that we need to ask. And if we've said many months ago that we'll get you on, and we still haven't, apologise. We will do. We'll get round to it. We just, to quote the big man, it's a movable feast.
Well, at least none of us are fucking off to a croft away yet.
Well, I've got something to tell you. No. Bought the one next door. No.
You're going to get a book on you, The Pensioner's Guide to Crofting.
Keep the noise down, Derek. But there's lots to look forward to. Some nice new releases coming up. The 2 Fish, Vigil, and internal deluxes, and then This Strange Engine remix as well.
Marillion.
Yeah. So they're coming up. So look out for some reviews of those.
Oh, I'm looking forward to TSE.
Me too.
And I mean the Vigil and Internal. Yeah, we'll have to do specials on them. Definitely.
Yeah. But anyway, all that's in the future.
In the future.
Just goes to say, it's good night from me.
And it's happy 50th from me.
Yay! Thank you, Steve Rothery.
Yeah, take care. Go on, let's get it right one of these times.
Stay alive!
Yay!
Thanks for listening to Planet Marzipan Podcast. Please like and subscribe from whichever platform you get your podcasts from. You can contact us at planetmarzipanpodcast@gmail.com and check out Marillion.com, fishmusic.scot or fishmusic.eu for all the good stuff.